Do you have the link out to YouTube?
Yeah, it's on my YouTube. All right. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I guess I'm running table breakers momentarily until we can get somebody who's more competent, or I die, whichever one comes first. So, with that being said, tonight we have Jade, myself, the Cigar DM, and here momentarily we'll have the guy who knows how to rant the most, Kai. And so tonight we'll be going with three different topics. I will let Jade let you guys know what they are.
Okay, so the topics tonight, we're going to cover a question that came up in the previous session. It was suggested by Stratazar. It's what happens if the PCs get tired of the same game world? What can you do? So I think number one is you have to evaluate, what your players want in the game and what you're willing to offer in a way, because it's not always easy to come up with something new and unique every week, week by week. Sometimes you need to, take a step back and be like, hey, I've already done like the same 6 storylines. I don't have a 7th storyline prepped. So really it's maybe you ask your players or poll your players and they're like, hey, so you guys are obviously bored with what I'm putting out in the game. Do you have any feedback for me? Get the feedback from your players, because they might have an idea of, hey, why don't we go this direction, or why don't we go that direction? Now, if your players, more than half your players are like, we just don't want to play in this world anymore, and like we're done with this world, maybe it's time to switch gears and switch systems even. You can go from medieval or fantasy-esque game to high fantasy, fantastical powers, not just mages who get the same list of spells all the time. Maybe you play something more superhero-esque. Marvel's really big right now, so is DC. You can take from other worlds and other concepts, that their original IPs, and build upon it into your own way. Kyle, anything you'd like to add to that?
I think that a campaign story will go as long as the DM and the players are willing to work together. Sometimes that story gets stale, and we've done this for the 100th time. Save the princess, find the lost treasure of Zuzu, the Monkey King, or whatever. So having a bag of beans from 5e, which basically, makes a whole different scenario to happen. It being one of the beings making a pyramid where you have to fight a mummy emperor or a mummy king or a lord, whatever, or it going up into turn into Jack and a Beanstalk. Just because these are minor things that people don't really look at in the magic item aspect. These can be their own world building aspects, such as deck of many things, as in bag of beans, and there's other magical items out there that are already been in Pathfinder or 5e or in other systems that could build a separate world. Hell, do Alice in Wonderland or Looking Through the Window Glass scenario. You never know where Narnia is going to pop up at. That's my point.
What about you, Kai? Whenever players get bored of the same game world that they've been playing in for however long, how do you re-pique their interest? Or when they say, we just don't want to be in this world anymore, where do you go? What do you do?
Honestly, at that point, I just kind of work with the idea that you're going to want to change work. I just pause and go, well, do you want to play fantasy or sci-fi? If the world is, I want to play fantasy, I'm going to go with, all right, if they still want me GMing, they're going to get a whole nother country. They're all going to get another bit of work. I have so many different cultures to work from that I'm happy to go, well, all right, time jump, work, go somewhere else. And if it's somebody wants to go, no, I think we're almost bored enough to change worlds. I'm like, no, you're cool. Go ahead. Just we'll play something else. And you know what? I hope for that day. I really want that day to arrive finally. I want it. Sorry, I don't have a whole lot on this particular topic. I mean, usually I just run around with the idea that I just change cultures. I change settings. I change eras. I'll just change which of the two worlds I'm running on. If they want a bit more of a difference, I just adapt. I mean, if they're willing, if they want me to still run, God help them, I just swap for them.
Okay. All right. So that was a good question from comments last week. Maybe Bruce will have more on that when he's available, or maybe even Baron when he's available. Kind of a haphazard stream tonight. We were a little unprepared this week, but that's fine. Charging ahead, herding cats seems to be the one thing that most games have in common, or at least a lot of game masters rant about on Reddit or other social media platforms, is how to herd their players in certain directions that they would really like their players to go. I'm going to start with Kai on this one. Like, how do you herd your cats?
I honestly you just kind of go with the idea that you just let them run. I mean, if the herd moves how it wants, I just kind of guide it. And I just throw bad, scary things that keep them all in line. That's all it is. Fear will keep systems in line. That's usually how I do it. I'm sorry, I don't have with this, it's just like the players go running, I run rampant, and honestly, because I've got so much other things I'm working on, that I can hit them with a random act of plot line, fear, or I just let the party decide for themselves. Like the herd decides where it wants to go, and the cats want to go over here. Well, the cats go over there, and because I'm prepared, I can run pretty reliably whichever direction they want to go in. So yeah.
Okay. What about you, Cigar? Do you ever find it troublesome to herd cats? You're muted, sir. You're still muted. There you go. Almost.
All right, let's try that again. I am always herding cats. Even when it's my own, even when it's not my campaign, I am always herding cats. Because even with grown-ups who should know better, and I'm looking at myself right now, I'm looking at myself really hard in the face, should know better, ADD or whatever kicks in. Ooh, what's that shiny thing over there? It is your death because you didn't stick with the rest of the group. But I want to go see that shiny thing over there. It's your death. Stay with the group.
No.
But, yeah. It's like, okay, if you don't, the party, the hook is going this direction. You need to get on the train. It's and no, we don't want to. We want to take a boat there. But I wasn't ready to let loose the Kraken. Fuck it. So yeah, no, it's herding cats, and what I do is, if I get every once in a while, I'll get one that's kind of lippy. I'm like, no, go do what you want. Go, we'll work it out. I want you to have fun. At the end of the campaign, sometimes they have to make new characters. Most times they have to make new characters, but it's a learning experience. You don't stray away from the rest of the pack. And so, I mean, I don't always kill the player that wanders off, but there's always some kind of mayhem that falls upon them. Because as the idea of these groups was to have not so much a military type grouping, but having a group of adventurers go out and adventure together. This is not solo play. This is group activities. So the moment the one person breaks off, it it washes over the rest of the night in trying to figure out how to push it back together. So I prefer a taser, role playing version of a taser somehow. Shock them back into their little slots like peg people that they are, and keep the story going. What about you, Jade?
Oh man, Herding Cats. The musical without music. So yeah, I do have a problem with Herding Cats occasionally. You know, trying to get the players to move in a direction that I would really like to see them move in, without actually railroading them, it can be difficult. Actually, it's one of the more difficult things, to avoid that rail. Um, but if your players are picking up the clues you're putting down, they should want to go in those directions anyway. If they aren't picking up the clues, maybe you need to reevaluate how you are giving information. Be it, is there a skill check required? Well, personally, I believe that you don't need a skill check to find clues to the next thing. Sherlock Holmes doesn't, roll a skill check to, perceive what's in the room. He just does it.
Not
Why?
that,
Go ahead.
I would say not that you see. That's the problem when you have when you're reading a book and when you're, because there are Sherlock Holmes always sees the solution because he's scripted to find the solution.
Correct.
But there are points when say you're playing to use a more science fiction style game like Alien, where everyone's looking, but there was that one moment where somebody didn't notice and oops, they get killed. And so there is that skill check and there are points where Sherlock Holmes always seems to find the solution, but there is points where he doesn't get every detail right, or he makes the wrong conclusion. So that could be easily representative in a game term as, if you're one who goes, I don't like skill checks, it's just simply, you made the wrong interpretation of what clues I was giving you. Or if you like skills, you failed a skill check and I didn't tell you every detail, and now you came to the wrong conclusion, and now you're going to go fall off a cliff with Moriarty. There you go.
I agree. I both agree and disagree, and my reasoning is, if the clue is necessary to continue the story or the plot or game in a specific direction, if the players say, hey, I'm going to scout the area, see what I find, they should find it. Now, you can say, okay, make a perception check, make a some kind of awareness check. That's fine. But so long as they do so and take the action to do so, they should find sufficient enough information to move along the desired path. It shouldn't be something they can outrightly fail. However, if everyone at the table goes, I'm also going to roll that check, that's fine. You can do that. The person with the highest gets the most detailed information or finds it first. The person with the lowest, you can set an arbitrary DC. You can say, the person who failed it by, was the lowest by 5, you just outrightly fails. If a person, the lowest roll of the group was 10 less than the next person behind them, they're completely oblivious to what's going on. That's a GM way of saying, hey, you tried, you just didn't, make it. And that's fine. You can definitely do that as a method, but you should never withhold information that is critical to moving the game along through a skill check. Skill checks are there if failure truly is an option, and through failure, you might find something else. I don't think failure as an option to stop the progression of the game should ever really be considered, because at that point, where do you go? what you're going to end up having is a bunch of frustrated players and a frustrated GM going, well, I don't know why you can't find the thing. It's this DC. Why can't you roll above it? And the players going, I don't know why you're not just working with us and giving us what we need to continue. I've been in those arguments and I've been at those tables. It gets very frustrating for both sides. Typically, it ruins the mood of the night.
I know. I'm going to jump in really quick. Sorry, Kai.
Yeah, go for it.
Go ahead.
I think I think you're both are. I agree with what both of you guys say, but at the same time, I when I'm building a homebrew campaign, somebody asks me what a DC to something is. Difficult checkness. Difficult for those who don't know the term DC. Anyways, and I just come up like, well, I'll do quick player math. They are level X by their skills could only be this high, so the max number they could roll is this high. Is this a medium, easy situation, a medium situation, a hard situation? Then there's like really quick math that needs to be done on the fly. So do you give yourself a base number for every level? Like from 1 to 10, is it like from 1 to 5, is it 10? 10 to 5, 15, and does the number just go up by 5? Or
do you want to field this one first, Kai, or do you want me to field it first?
Go ahead, field it first.
Okay, so when I am homebrewing my own sessions and whatnot, and setting DCs, my base DC is 10. Like everything starts at 10, maybe 8 if it becomes, commonplace knowledge or common stuff. But everything always starts at 10 because it's the median difficulty. And then I fluctuate from 10 by, circumstances, like what's going on in the scene. Is there a sneak thief or a cut purse moving around the crowd? Okay, well, what is their, skill? If I'm playing 3-5, how many ranks in the skill do they have? Okay, they might have 5. But guess what? I'm going to increase the difficulty by 2, 3 to notice them moving about the crowd, being a cut purse. If they've got 10 ranks, we're level 10 at this point, and they've got 10 ranks of, stealth and pickpocketing, I might raise the difficulty up to a 15 or 18, maybe a little more, as the situation might, require. Are they really good at what they do? Or is the crowd moving in such a way that it obscures them? And do they know how to work said crowd to obscure themselves from vision? Same scenario with a cleric or a wizard who's like, hey, I'm gonna try to read these runes on this temple wall and try to make sense of this. Okay, give me a history or some kind of related check or ability check to see if you recall something from either a book or see if your god's paying attention and says, hey, by the way, here's the information you need. So I might, depending on if it's critical to the story, I might, raise the DC by like 1. I might keep it at 10. If it's not critical, but it might be something fun and kind of pointing to something specific much later on, I might raise the difficulty a little bit more to like a 15 or 16. And that's just because, the information, I don't want to give it away just yet because it'll be critical. I want them to circle back to this location to, really dive into it. And right now is not the best time for, the game's direction or game's movement. If I want to reuse a site, I'll set the higher DCs. So it's really circumstantial as to when I raise DCs and lower DCs. And they're not set numbers all the time. Sometimes it's a situation where I just want to say, you know what? I don't care what your modifier is. I don't care that you have a plus 10,000 to your perception. Roll above a 15 on the D20 and you get it. Roll below it and you don't. I really don't care. Because the modifiers to me are, they're way overinflated most of the time. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Okay.
Honestly, I really don't if it's something that I would always assume that someone easily can do, like, oh, anyone can do it. Yeah. No, I just have a simple. I don't care what level you are. I really don't care. I don't. It's like I know I'm not playing the game like everybody else is. Like, oh, but I'm level 10. I should be able to succeed at this. Like, yes. It was easy. You're right. That's easy for you. And for certainly like crafting, I have very set rules and set numbers and all this wonderful fun stuff. But I tend more to go with the mentality of no. If it seems like it would be an average challenge for what I think you're at your level, 10 plus, I don't care. I'm like, okay, their level, their stats, their this, their skills. If they roll a 10 or better, go. You succeed. If it's a hard thing, 12, 13, 14, 15 on a die, and you just sit in your head and go, okay, this level, they have these modifiers, they have this adjustment. The average person who has a 12 or a 13 in that stat should have this modifier by this point. So, yeah, so it'll be a DC, whatever a 10 is, and work from there. Whatever rolling a 10 would get in my head. And then I'm going, okay, that would work. 15, 5, and then, because honestly, at this point, I don't care what level you are. It doesn't matter. Everyone's the same level. Everyone's the same experience level. So at this point, it's just a die roll. And then, that guy who has, he's a master train in this, he's master trained, so he's got a +4 modifier. Ooh, so you need to roll only an 8 rather than the 10 that the other guy has to roll. Well, I'm legendary. You need to roll a 6 compared to the guy who's rolling a 10. Okay, that's all it comes down to. Is me just going, it's all smoke and mirrors and show, honestly, at this point. So my DC is entirely based on what I think your player characters are good for, and then it's up to you to figure out how to do your own math, your own statting. So, like I can't take into every equation and go, well, he's got an 18 in his stat or a 20 in his stat, so he's got a +5, so I need to modify it now. Which is what I think an average person at 10 I can roll a 10 on. Go. And so far they think it's all magical numbers, and like, wow, I rolled a really high number, and I'm like, that's nice. That's really nice. I'm so glad. What'd you roll? A 16. Oh, then you did good. You did good. And every once in a while someone's like, do our stats matter? Yes. Yes, they do. Yes, they adjust your modifiers a bit. But in the end, if I go with this whole idea that, wow, you have to... No, it's like the threat DC at level 14 at level 12 is everything should be a 33, but it's 10 plus level plus this, and they have a +22, so they only need to roll a 9 or better to succeed. And I'm like, why don't you just say it's 9 or better to succeed? Well, math, numbers. Everything's about numbers. That's nice. Because I can strip out all of this extra crap that you get for free every level. It's like, wow, you get a skill point every level. For using Pathfinder 1 or 3.0, it's like, or 3rd edition, it's like, you get a skill point, and it's your primary skill. So you're going to put a point into it every single level. And it's a class skill, so you get your class train bonus. So you're going to get this bonus and your stat bonus. So of course you're going to hit a 36 every single time you roll. Why? Because you rolled an 8 or better. Okay. And at that point, strip out all this extra, as a GM, just strip out all this extra fluffy big giant numbers that are all way inflated and just go, what really matters? What percentage of chance do they have to succeed? Do you want a 60% chance of success? 8 or higher. Do you want a 10% chance? Congratulations, a 19 or 20. And it's like, well, this is a really hard choice. This is almost impossible. 19, 20. And at that point, they all roll. And except that guy goes, well, I've got all these stats. Okay, then you need a 16 or better to do the impossible. Congrats, good for you. But I got tools, 14 or better, and a laboratory, 12 or better, to do the impossible. But he's stacked everything, and that's what it really comes down to. Is you can make it as easy or as hard as you want to make it, honestly. And if you don't want, and if you want to go to this rigmarole level basic DCs, go ahead. And well, no, just go ahead, make it hard on you. But honestly, it's all about moving the plot forward and having a fun game. Just strip out as much of it in your head. So reduce the equation down to its bare minimum, and go, well, if everyone's this is the number you need. Congrats. And suddenly all this advanced, calculus math becomes simply, oh, it's only a percentile check. Okay, cool. And you just move on with your life, and you keep playing. And the game goes a lot faster. You just got to learn how to reduce the big numbers down to manageable numbers. Anyway, that's my take on it.
Okay. So the reason I went off camera for a moment was actually I went to get this book here. This is Index Card RPG. It actually has an entire 2 to 3 pages dedicated to setting difficulty. And I really like this because in this game format, everything in the room, and you don't have to do this for just Index Card RPG. You can actually apply this to D&D, to any Roll20, actually any game system, whatever engine you want to run. But you choose a target, and for example, this is a D20 setting, so target 10, beginner encounters, easy conditions, home base, clear weather, or having the high ground. Players will dominate with this low target number. Target 12 is a supreme average target. To be used almost most of your encounters should be about a 12, so slight difficult, until you get to the boss encounters, which should start around 15 or so. This is mostly the die roll number with minimal modifiers. 15 represents like a rough conditions, or the person you're fighting has good gear or sound tactics. When you get to the 18 as a challenge or as a target, that's when you get to the brutal challenges, like the ones that are, if you have to roll an 18 or better to do something, that's a 15% chance of success. We're really getting into difficult terrain here. Things that, for example, this one here will almost be impossible for players, but force them to find a way to lower the number immediately. Those are kind of things like, okay, well, the target's now 18. How can we reduce the target? How can we get the number lowered to our advantage, or how can we get it an advantage? And then they start looking around the room or around the scene to say, hey, what kind of scene things can I do, or environment things can I do to lower this difficulty? So that's how I'm going to be using difficulty going forward. It is how I've kind of used difficulty in the past. When someone's like, oh yeah, we're going to be fighting this red dragon and we can't see it directly. How do we fight this thing? Well, you presumably remove whatever's blocking your line of sight to the dragon, hopefully. If you don't, then I'm just going to breath weapon you through this, miasma cloud until either you're dead or you run away. Because the dragon knows where you are because, well, blind sense.
It's a dragon.
Because it's a dragon.
They're not gods. They're dragons.
So yeah, so I think that was a good question. How to choose difficulty and how to increase difficulty. Or decrease difficulty. If someone comes up with a really inventive way of circumnavigating something, you can say, all right, reduce the DC by 3, for the action as you've described it. If someone goes, I'm going to swing from this chandelier and try to stab the guy in the neck as I go over the top, I'm like, that's a really complex set of actions. I'm going to increase the difficulty by 3. from a 15 to an 18 because you're doing a lot of really complex maneuvering, trying to be, the Hollywood action hero.
I kind of want to ask: is there a character named Errol Finn? Because I mean, that shit
No,
died back
no.
in the series.
No, I can't remember the character's name, but I did have a player try to do that once, and it didn't go as well as they had originally planned in their head. It actually ended up not so great. Anyhow, yeah. So, any other questions? Any other thoughts?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well,
Sorry.
No, that's fine. We touched on this a little bit earlier with herding cats, and it's splitting the party. Now, this can be a quagmire of a subject with a lot of different people and different personality types. As a game master, our job is to challenge the players, and sometimes we have to split the party to do so. Now, a lot of people, a lot of players are going to be like, we'll never let the party split, because they all remember that song, Don't You Know, You Never Split the Party. Or you have the players go, screw that, you go over there, I go over here, and you over there, you deal with this. And they split the party on their own. The question is, do you punish or reward splitting the party? So, Kai, I'm going to get your thoughts first on splitting the party.
Oh, I'll be honest. I'm happy if the party splits up, but that's also because of the fact that I had a player who, because life forced him to drop out of the game, he explained it to me that he was dropping out because, as he put it, it's a blessing and a curse that the more effort you put into my campaigns, the more I give you feedback. So if you dedicate time to me, I'm going to dedicate time to you. And one of those things is if you decide to go off and split the party to go somewhere else, and you might have the entire session, you might just sit out the entire session. You just didn't do anything. But one of the requirements, well, not a requirement, but if you put the effort in, like if you write down how much time has been passing in game, well, you didn't just do nothing. You were off doing something else elsewhere. And if during the session we never get back to you because, well, the focus of the story is now on the main group, and Mr. Lone Wolf has wandered off and about to get killed elsewhere, or have an adventure. It's one of those things where it's like it becomes prescient not on me, because I have explained it to everybody that table is for the group. If you want to do anything separate, that's what all the extra time during the week is for. You email me, you message me, and realize that you, if you are not part of the group, you are earning time that you can spend talking to me. And if you go into debt, I've had some players who have worked like 3 weeks ahead of the main group, and then they come to the session thinking they're just going to sit down. And I'm like, no, you're busy. You don't get to play. And they have to go, wait, what? And I'm like, no, your characters, you're elsewhere, and everybody else is busy having having the adventure. You're not available. Or are you willing to sacrifice all that you've done to be part of the group? And he's like, oh, crud. And so he has to make that call of, is his personal ambition worth it, or is it worth, or is the group more important? And most of the time, most go, group's important, but because life is just one of those things where you're not always available to game every single week, and it's no fair to go, oh, you were in a little red box, and you just get here's your share of the XP and the treasure for being present, but you weren't playing, so that way you're not falling behind. No, if you feel like you want to invest time and effort and feel like you're part of the world, you don't have to, like that 3 months that we played while you weren't there, go out and start your business, go out and have a life, go create that thing, go Go have a solo adventure. Trust me, I'm willing to throw at least 1 or 2 nights a week in text form while I'm at a truck stop or sitting at home, soaking my feet to get the corns out to go, here, I'm going to run you I'll run you a side adventure. So that way you have something that you've done. So when you come back to the point, like, where were you for the last 3 weeks? Oh, I was busy. And, oh, you were having, I live a life besides just following you guys around. Oh. And so therefore the party splits up. I'm just like, cool. This week might be Group A, and next week might be Group B. Or the next 3 hours is going to be Group A. And if we get to Group B, remember, you walked away. That's up to you. And it's like, and they might learn that, well, next week, hey, Group A, you had your turn in the sun. It's Group B's turn. Now it's their episode. And they have to go, oh, okay. And I will happily go, hey, Group B, do you want to play NPCs to help make Group A more interesting? Yeah, we'll play NPCs. All right, sit down. We'll play some NPCs for you. And now they're all suddenly going, okay, so everyone's still vibrant, still engaged. They're not just like, well, my character's not there. I'm not doing anything. No, they're playing some cool NPCs now, and they're having some fun. Like, I'll throw them NPCs and go, nah, play the shopkeep. Play a minor lord. Create tension for me. And like, just follow this. Like, I'm the main characters, but make the background more entertaining, and it'll be more fun that way. So I don't punish anyone for going, I'm wandering off. Cool, because the days of never split the party is completely trash, honestly, in my opinion. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. How about you, Cigar? Splitting
Well,
the
with
party.
him just saying all that, I just realized I want to be in his campaign. Sorry I can't make it this week. I have an 11-year-old daughter. It's fine. You'll text me. We'll work something out. You'll come in next week, and you'll just be an NPC.
Cool.
Walk on. Thank you. That's what good DMing is. Willing to work with your players. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put the spotlight right on you, but that was actually a really well said statement. Because holy crap. With that being said, you want me to answer the question?
If you've got anything on the topic.
Yeah, splitting party. I'm running modules right now, so I mean, I know what you feel, how you feel about them. They're guy. I can feel your hate going through.
No, they're fine. They're fine.
Okay. This is just where I'm at right now. I'm running modules. It's just easier for me.
It is.
But there's like the Haunted Mansion where there's rotted floors and the players have to pass a DC. If they don't, they fall through the floor, which goes through another floor, which they end up into the basement. So the story itself will split the party. And the Rise of the Rune Lord is such a love letter to the occult / Texas Chainsaw Massacre and everything else in between that they really don't like splitting up as a group because they don't know what's coming around the next corner. And because I've ran this campaign so many times, I can justify throwing extra shit into the campaign that's not in the module, but it's still balanced. I don't want you to be sitting back here relaxing. Oh, on my next turn, I think I'm going to walk over there and look through that paper. No, I want you on the edge of your seat saying, I move that paper. Will some kind of ooze, some kind of horrible thing pop out of me? Will I end up inhaling yellow mold and becoming a gas? Or depends on where you are in the campaign. That's what I want. So I don't really have that party because I am the almighty God of my table and I put fear into them. So says myself, not so much what they say, but that's what I at least think myself. But no, I've yet to have any of the splitting of the party. I've been in campaigns where people do split and DM's like, what are you doing? I'm standing with the rest of the people because I don't want to die horribly. But I will
Hit.
take half of their stuff when they die.
Hit. Yeah.
I would never.
What was that?
I would never.
Yeah.
I
Look
would
for that
never.
DM. That guy.
Uh-huh.
Not yet.
No,
I haven't had this guy. Well, that guy as a DM as of yet. We're working on it, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
know.
But splitting party, if my players ever want to, I'm not going to penalize them because the module itself will split the party. I will not handcuff them, say no, you have to stay together because the module will break them up. So it's not really, but they don't naturally go to that extreme themselves.
Okay.
I think I'm lucky in that way.
I think you might have a scenario of good group cohesion where everyone's on the same page, going the same direction, and that happens. There's a lot of groups that really synergize really well and stay together.
Even in the last one you ran, the Wrath of the Righteous, with my guy being able to shadow jump, which was the ability element, is basically teleport wherever he wants within 100 feet as long as he has view. I always try to stay close to the big hitters because there's things out in the abyss. We're not talking the normal plane of existence. We're talking about the abyss that will eat me, use me as a prom date leftover, and go on their merry way.
Oh yeah. You definitely nearly died on a number of occasions.
And
Even
sometimes
standing
it was at
next
the
to
hand
the
of the
big
other
guy.
party members. Thank
Yeah.
you, Ryan.
Actually, that was totally my fault. And that's something we'll get to or maybe I think you guys have actually already covered rebuilding modules to challenge party members or parties. I haven't watched all of Table Breakers. I know I am so sinful for not doing so.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I have very limited time of free time anyway. So yeah, I think splitting the party. It's a GM personal thing. Some game masters will want to do it. Some game masters love to do it. Other game masters don't want to deal with the headache of it. I personally, I like splitting the party when multiple things need to get done at the same time. And I'm okay with the party going, hey, we're going to split in half so this group can go over here and do this thing, and this group can go over here and do that thing. That's when I'll bust out like timers, or I'll look at my clock and be like, okay, I'm going to give 10 minutes to this group. You guys take a breather, go get something to snack on, go, refill your drinks and whatnot. I'll get back to you in about 10 minutes. I'll sit with this group and let them go for however long, the 10 minutes will last, or shorter if they, finish up what they want to do in 10 minutes or less. And then I will move over to the other group and do the same thing. Now, if they split into yet another group, a third group, then I'll be like, okay, you're going to start stretching my, attention span here. So now we're going to reduce how much time each group gets and can succeed at in a given time span, and I might even shortcut some things just so that they can get through certain aspects of it. They're wanting to get through like the entire module in a single sitting by splitting up. Okay, we can do that. I can run that if that's the way you want to run it. However, there are scenarios in which I go, all right, I'm purposely splitting the party. I'm putting a absolute divide here. Some of you are going to be able to go this way. Some of you are not going to be able to go this way. And that's I will try to split up the group in such a way that a rogue might have to work with a paladin, and they can't be Mr. I'm going to take anything that's not nailed down, and because I have a crowbar, nothing's nailed down. They're going to have to go, oh, well, I can't just take everything because I'm working with a paladin, and if he notices I'm taking everything, things go sideways in a hurry. And I'm doing that as a game master to go, hey, I notice you don't work well with this player. I'm asking you to try and a new approach or a new direction to see if your characters can work together. I might do that early on as a team building exercise, so to say, like levels 1 through 3 or 4. That's where I start my team building exercises. And I will split the party that early on, just so I can get some of those team building exercises, so they can start looking at and be like, oh, hey, if you're distracting them, I can slip my knife like right through their spleen into their spine and spline them. So I think splitting the party can be a really great thing, but it can also be a very tiring thing for the GM, because now the GM has to split their own mind into multiple different directions. Anything else on splitting the party?
When did spleen become a spleen? Then become a word? Would
Spleen?
you a spleen?
Or
Not
spline?
the. Does how did you say that to spleen
I'm
them?
gonna spline them. I'm going to
Spline
take a
them. Right,
dagger.
right.
I'm gonna
Is that
take a
in
dagger and
Webster's
slip it
dictionary or is that in Oxford? Where did I lose that?
Spline is actually a type of curvy line. It's a drafting term. But when I say it, I'm talking about pushing someone's spleen all the way to their spine.
No, I get it. I'm curious about the word usage.
I think that came from when I was in high school, so long ago. One of my friends, I think, is the one who coined that one. So
My daughter, speaking in high school, my daughter asked me, was there dinosaurs around when you were in high school?
You're that age, dude. Get over it. All right. Man.
We've gone through
the main talking points that I wanted to hit
talking
on.
points.
Well, we don't usually have our full round table that usually eats up a lot of our time.
I was thinking each topic could maybe, take about 40 minutes at most for a 2-hour showing.
No.
Yeah, I noticed that. Okay, to stay on the game topic, it'll just be a little bit more free-form than what we've been doing over the last few weeks.
Omnibus
Does
night.
that work for you, Kai?
I'm fine.
Go for it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm not. I'm good.
Estimate 3. Oh, for him jumping. That's cool. Then we'll have the full freight train of what the hell was I drinking last night. Okay. I think we talked momentarily about milestones and XP. Where's the happy blend?
This one.
Did we do a full thing on it, or was it a 5-minute statement?
It was a brief, I think, last week, between milestones and experience points. We touched on the topic, but I don't think was it gatekeepers?
It was gatekeepers.
Okay. But I know we didn't go fully into the benefits or ramifications of both. So that could be a good talking point. You got any specific questions you want to ask on that, Scar?
Yeah. So, when milestones, do you? Let's start with the basics. Which of the two do you prefer? Do you prefer having to figure out XP for the party, or do you prefer to say, "Hey, we just got past chapter umped. Go ahead and level yourself to level umped."
Okay. Who do you want to start with?
I'll start with Kai because I'm hoping for at least one good rant tonight.
I think I covered this one actually a little bit ago on terms of how I do my milestones, like where I have this. I wish I had the chart with me because once again I'm still in the middle of moving. So.
Right. Where your enemies. So you have the board, and you were saying
no.
The timeline. That's something else.
That's the villain timeline. That's how I run my games for plot lines. But for leveling, I have a different system of where you go with. I have number of players on the table, who are active, which is between 5 to 6 times 2, so that's 12 points. Between 10 to 12 points per level. You earn points for advancing the plot line. Like actually, advancing an arc. I have plot line, so it's like. And not just we chase after the bad guy and no, you got to put effort into it. It's one of those moving forward and actually succeeding a major storyline earns you 2 points. Ending an arc, like ending an actual storyline, like an actual threat, that's 4 points. Succeeding at beating a personal, a personal goal advancement, which is limited to 1 per player per session. So if all 5 players get together and like each advance each other's personal goals, personal ambitions, personal, and they have to be like an actual, like, you've put effort into it, give you a reward there. So the party can choose to not advance the plot and go with, we're all going to work internally on ourselves. That's but that's me making an actual interesting adventure out of, I'm working on my sugarcane plantation, and this, like, well, like dealing with all of those problems, like, and all of those, when you pass the threshold of X number of points, congratulations, you've earned a level. Now it's entirely not in my hands of going, I'm choosing when I think you've leveled up. Now you've got definable goals, and you decide, are you going to work for it, or are you just going to sit back on your laurels and do jack shit nothing? Are you going to be a druid who sits in a tree all day and looks at your kitty cat and go, you're a good kitty? Guess what? You're not advancing anything. You're not doing anything. You're waiting to react to a situation. So you're not proactively choosing to chase after the arc. You're waiting for the arc to come to you. So at most, you're just an ambling side character who isn't contributing to the party's growth. Meanwhile, while one player goes, I'm going to go do 100 things. Sorry, you only get 1. You can only accomplish 1 goal per session. You can accomplish more, but you're not getting points for that because, sorry, we're not going to let one guy carry the entire party screaming towards high level because this guy is the overambitious overachiever and he has it all planned out. I'm like, you guys could all sit around and follow his coattails, but it's going to take 10 sessions to earn a level. And then I'll go, oh, so we all got to actually have goals? Yes, you got to have goals and wants and desires. And you got to want to be able to improve yourself or discover something about your background. I make it so that way players are the ones who are, the ones who are important, not just simply, well, I think you've accomplished, this chapter of the book. You've earned a level because the book tells you to. Yeah. No, none of that shit.
Okay.
I have done both, and sometimes even in the same game. So when I'm doing module play, I do it strictly by experience points, because the module is written in such a way, typically, that you're supposed to be a certain level by a certain time by doing so many X amount of encounters, or succeeding at X amount of things. So those, module play, I run pretty much strictly by the experience points. Now I'm the crazy kind of game master who runs spreadsheets in the background, and I've already, extrapolated every single drop of experience points out of the entire set of modules. And I've got it set up on a chart that, as you do things, I, put the date in that it was completed, and the XP automatically ticks over and tells me what the level of the players should be. I'm, that kind of crazy math kind of guy. But then again, I've also done for a lot of my homebrew stuff, I run XP until about, I want to say, at the end of mid-level, just before we hit high level. Because at high level, we're doing things in the game that XP just isn't meant to cover. We're fighting things on such a grand scale that, it takes you 2 to 5 million between levels to level up, and nobody's got time to go get 5 million XP. Nobody. So at those moments, I'll be like, okay, you have succeeded at, X percentage of this story arc or this plot arc, I'm going to say level up 1 level. And I'll say that at the end of a session, if they haven't completed the arc. If they have completed the arc, I might go, congratulations, you've completed a major arc. You've earned a level. But at that point, we're playing at levels 21 through 27. Again, I'm saying the XP chart says you need 5 million between levels, and it goes up exponentially. I'm saying, no, you just need to complete and make good effort in completing the plot points that I have and learning, what the plot actually is. So, like I said, I've done both. I've done strict XP. I've also done, the blended. What I'm getting ready to run next is purely milestone. You will achieve milestones based on the game, like succeeding at discovering what's happening, picking up the clues and whatnot. And it's a point system, kind of like what Kai's got. I think it's 10 points earns a milestone is what I'm kind of going with, or what I'm aiming towards. And you can do different things to earn milestones or these points. So I'm also coming up with kind of like an achievement / trophy type thing. Yes, blame Xbox and all that for the achievements. But you know what? They're kind of fun and quirky. I'm going towards a king builder style game, or kingmakers kind of game. And as you build out your city, I'm giving you advancements, so to say. Like you've you claimed your first hex. That's 1 point towards your 10 to level. So advancing your kingdom will help you level. Advancing the story will help you level. Doing fun, quirky things might help you level. Like, oh, hey, I've died and come back twice, and you just killed me again. And my party is going to do everything they can to revive me. But congratulations, you've just earned the hat trick trophy. You get 1 point towards your milestone reward. You pulled off the hat trick.
Hey, I did that once.
I won't lie. I actually made the joke once about one of my players who died a lot, and where it's like, you died twice, one more, you get a free ice cream cone. And he's like,
never died again.
Oh, no. He actually called me on it and goes, wait, do I get a free ice cream cone if my character dies? Oh, yeah, you visited the afterlife that many times, you're going to get a free ice cream cone. And then he purposely like charged into battle, died, lost his character this time. Like no coming backs, no backsies on this one. And after the session, he's like, "So do I get an ice cream cone?" And I'm like, yes, let's go out for ice cream. And we ended up just going out to Culver's, and I bought him a small concrete mixer. Because, well, you died 3 times, you get your ice cream cone. He's like, yay, I got my ice cream. Like, everyone else was gone, but I held my promise of going, here's your achievement, a frozen treat for having died this many times in the campaign. And he's like, I'm so happy for having lost a character. And everyone else going, you died for an ice cream cone. We're not bringing you back for that. And him, fair enough. But I got the ice cream cone, and none of you did.
Did you take him to Emos?
No, I took him to Culver's.
Oh, see, I would have took. Well, it depends on what time of the year it was.
Time of the year was late autumn, early winter. So Emos was closed, and I'm not going to Dairy Queen to save my life. So
I was just thinking where the place of deployment is located. Emos is like literally spitting distance.
It is spitting distance, but right now, oh yeah, Emo's perfect. But right now, but that's right now.
Yeah.
In a few, but yeah, no. When he died, it was simply he wanted an ice cream cone. He got his ice cream cone. He was so happy, And he taunted everybody else like I got an ice cream cone. What'd you guys get? GM likes me most. I go, no, I hate you. That's why I killed you. But you bought the ice cream cone. I don't care.
Or other fun achievements that might tick you 1 point closer to gaining a level might be something like Hated by Fate, where you fail 5 attempts in a row to do something. And I don't mean like the same thing. I mean, you roll, I'm going to attack this guy, you roll and you fail. The next, thing you do is I'm going to try to climb that cliff wall. You roll, you fail. You do 5 things in a row that you utterly fail. I might give you an achievement point for that because holy hell, you're just hated by fate at that point. So I mean, I try to keep my game kind of fun in the leveling aspect. I want you to, huh?
I said as an achievement, I might go buy you new dice.
Or that. But hold on. I gave you experience points for seeing.
Your Highness, yeah. That's not as bad as Meet the Spartans, but that's up there.
But so I mean, I do try to keep leveling pretty closely tied to the game itself. You do things in the game to further the story. You should be earning levels, or should be earning your way towards a level. If you were doing, if the dice are just, really not in your favor, I might have pity on you, but I also may not, especially if you're, throwing your dice, picking it up and telling me you rolled a 1, not letting me see it, just to get that achievement. Yeah, no, that's not going to work for me. So, I mean, it's really finding fun ways to, let people level up, but keeping them kind of secret and like they just don't know that they exist. So I do, like I said, I do both. I do XP, I do milestones. I've done them together, and now I'm getting ready to do milestones completely separate from XP. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Well, I think we should change the subject before the Bruce and his magical painting Knuckles show up, so he doesn't, have a screaming fit. Yeah, conniption. If he hurries up and jumps in, all right, that was my question. I can keep throwing questions out unless one of you guys
keep throwing them out. Keep throwing them out. I'm better at responding to questions than I am to asking a question.
Okay. Mike, do you have one?
So let's say you're home brewing and you're just, you're sitting there at, you're during your planning time, you're just drawing an absolute blank. You have no idea what's coming next. You've squandered all your time doing other things, or life has just, kicked you in the teeth so hard during the week, you just don't have time to plan.
Or you had to move.
What do you do? Or you have to move, or like I said, life kicks you in the teeth. What do you do to not necessarily disappoint your players, but to have something ready for your players? What do you do?
Oh, I got this one.
All right,
okay, go for it.
So this is a magical thing called Audible, and it's a wonderful subscription service, and you get a free credit every month for being a member of it. And I am not sponsored by Audible, but I've been a member now for almost 6 years, and I have many of a book that I listen to. And then if I am completely brain dead, completely have no idea what I'm going to do, I will just look through my library of books that I've listened to, or look at the library of books behind me, and then go, what can I steal this week? What can I possibly steal this week? Because I know my players are a bunch of illiterate idiots.
But that's not nice. Your players are young people, right?
Nobody reads a book anymore. What the fuck? Nobody reads books. Nobody listens to books. At best, they watch movies. And even then, as one of my friends put it, you know you're a good game master if you can run 3 Star Trek Original Series episodes as adventures in whatever game you're playing and have the party not realize they're playing a Star Trek episode. So if they don't realize that they have just, that you have just run, the Corvette maneuver on them, and they have done the entire episode, and they've gone, I don't realize, it's even better when they're all Star Trek fans and they don't realize that they've just been playing the last 4 weeks two original series episodes. They're like, wait, this sounds familiar. Or one day I'm like, oh yeah, this series of events happens, and then someone afterwards goes, wait, was that a Deep Space Nine episode? I'm like, if you can name the episode, I'll give you a cookie. And they'll be like, oh shoot. And then when they start figuring it out, they go, oh, I know that. So I will happily steal everything I can possibly have. And then be like, if I can't come up with a plot line, steal. And make sure it's something that nobody else has. So I know with this group of people on here, I will never do anything Harry Dresden related, because we're all Harry Dresden fans. So if I do anything, you're all going to go, oh, I know what book that is. And I'd be like, crud, I can't use that. But I'm like going, how many of you have read Starfire? I can run the Theban invasion. None of you will have ever read that. You won't know what's going on. And now I've got an entire plot line, entire campaign, because I was brain dead. What?
I'm starting to think. I think I have. I think. I don't know. I'm rethinking that one now.
No, I can almost guarantee you. I can almost guarantee you haven't, and unless you're really, really into obscure 90s military science fiction, you probably haven't read it. It's a good book series.
Jade, he doesn't know our friends.
David Weber is God.
David Weber is God. Just understand that if it's sci-fi and I start just quoting random weird stuff, just know David Weber nobody's read John Ringo, so I'll steal John Ringo stories all day long because no one's like, I've never read this author. I know you haven't.
You say Ringo, I think the Beatles, and I know you're not talking about the same guy.
No, I am not. I am talking about this guy, John Ringo.
Yeah,
this is one of his mediocre books. We're sort of put away, or I'll be like, you know what? I'm going to go crib from Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Everyone's seen it, but nobody's actually done it. Nobody's really ever read that book. And so it's like, if I'm brain dead, steal everything. Dear God, steal a bad '80s movie. Steal an exploitation film. Steal.
I'm going to the Universal movie collection right now.
Yeah, and your players, I guarantee you, most of your players will not know your source material because I know most of mine don't. It's like, I know with some of my friends, I can't run a horror plot line because I can't run any horror movie because some of them have watched every horror movie ever made. Okay, can't steal that. Can't run certain zombie movies, but I can run certain books. Why? Just make sure that you steal from things that nobody else has recognized. Which means, sorry guys, none of you are going to get a Army of Darkness adventure or a Big Trouble in Little China adventure. We all know that plot line. I can't run it for you. Sorry.
I mean, I will give Connell credit if he does figure out which Fred Williamson movie I'm stealing from. And we all know who Fred Williamson is.
It's a matter of time, Bruce. It has to be some kind of note that hits the hit just right for me. Like, oh, you son of a bitch! That's what you got that from.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that I probably would steal from the best Fred Williamson movie ever made. And if you guys, I will fight anybody over this movie. This is the greatest Fred Williamson film ever made. It has so many quotable lines, but it is unmentionable by certain people of melanin count.
I just want you to know there, Bruce, I did not start this podcast the same way I started this past week's game. I just want you to know.
Oh, that's a shame. How dare you put it on a good foot forward?
I'll jump in. I have a library of movies, and I got Audible myself. I as a child, reading was just not going to happen for me for not educational reasons, for learning disabilities. But Audible, reading a book, having somebody read me a book, I'm all there. I'm a visual audio learner. That's what they used to say. I don't know what the new terminology is, but I was always been considered a visual audio learner. So with Audibles, if I'm running a campaign, if I'm not doing Rise of Runeterra but doing my own little nonsense, I'm right there with Kai. If I'm stumped, I will watch a movie that's semi in the same genre of the campaign I'm running, it being Crash of the Titans or any of the old Greek mythologies that has a good hook to it, or even George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones aspect of that, with the White Walkers or whatever. Or maybe I'll throw a historical piece in it, something that happened in real world history, I'll throw in my campaign. Right now, I am not sponsored by HBO, but right now I'm watching Deadwood. And I learned years ago to not turn certain words that I said in that TV show into drinking games, but I will use them in my campaign. So there is enough literature and media out there where if you can't think of something, there's no such, as much as people like to think that there's original thought still left in this world, there's not. There's, every story is based off one of the four original stories.
Seven.
Was it 7? I thought there was only 4.
Yeah. That's a topic for another time, but there are 7 base stories that you can tell. And of those 7, most tabletop gaming groups don't hit but maybe 5 of them.
The Adventure is definitely one of them. The Hero, the Hero's top 10 on that one. And I was actually talking to somebody I game with on Tuesday about basically hitting a roadblock because he's writing his own campaign out. And I'm like, don't feel bad if you have to borrow from somebody else's. Fucking Harry Potter stole Star Wars storyline if you look at it hard enough.
I mean, so yeah, the 7 basic stories are Overcoming a Monster, Rags to Riches, The Quest, as in Lotor, The Voyage and Return, as in The Hobbit, Comedies, Tragedies, and Rebirth. And that's the 7 main. And I think most gaming groups only ever touch on the Overcoming the Monster, the Quest mechanic one, the Voyage and Return, and then I think Tragedy is really the other one that's hit the most, followed by Rebirth and maybe Comedy.
So
again, that's a topic for another time.
Yes.
But either way, I'm right there with Kai. It's okay. I'm not going to say steal because I don't own a pirate flag or a 3-pointed hat like other DMs I know. But I do have liar's dice.
I do have a tri-crown. I just don't remember where I put it.
Mine's in storage.
Yeah, I think mine's somewhere boxed up.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are the people you're dealing with. With that being said, Bruce, you want to throw into this pig hole and see what you can drag out?
I would like you to go back through the topics we already had for discussion, except for the Garrett high-level gaming, because I'm still waiting for his official response on that.
Okay.
And I'll add a little bit to for those of you that were involved with last night's stream with Max Leal of Legion of Myth. he made some statements that Garrett just didn't really want to have an immediate response to. He wants to think about it. He'll respond later. But for the most part, when you hear something that's incendiary towards yourself, you have to kind of reflect on things as to why am I getting upset? Why am I getting mad? Garrett's doing the smart thing. He's just analyzing. He'll come back when he's able to have a proper response without a targeted personal attack. Because I think that's what's probably more than likely going to happen. He's not the type of guy that goes out and just like says, "You're a shitty poo-poo head." No, he doesn't go out all Bruce like that, So,
And he's a better person for that.
yeah, he is. So I mean, and what Max said wasn't really truly incendiary, but he was saying things that if you hadn't had a long time in the game, a neophyte would take offense to it. There were a lot of people that were 3-0 and 3-5 vets in the stream that were getting upset, and I'm thinking, guys, did you not hear at the start, whatever works for your table? If it's working for your table, keep using it. But as far as the official game is concerned, here's the words from Dragon Magazine. Here's the words from the first edition D&D, DMG, and Player's Handbook. He gave chapter and verse. And a lot of people were putting in selective hearing. So that's okay when they can come back with a properly formulated response. I'm all ears. I want to hear it. I don't like the way that Max presented druids, and I don't agree with druids being, I'm a neutral person. No. Everybody's a variety of asshole. It's just what type of asshole are you going to be? And I know that sounds terrible. I am a plumber. I see you all as producers. So,
Hey, that's enough shit talking on one post.
So,
Okay.
What is the topics that we have covered thus far? I got to cover up for hour and 16 minutes of your stream so far.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, we've kind of been on a bit of an omnibus, given the haphazardness of the stream tonight. So tonight we've covered. Let me pull up my notebook again. Shedazar asked a question last time.
Has a notebook.
I always take notes. So this came in from last week's stream. What happens if the PCs get tired of the same game world?
There's options for you. You can offer for the players to make a change within the game world. Within the game world. They're not leaving, but they're going to improve everything within arm's reach and be able to change hearts and minds of people that live within it. That's one way to look at it. That is a long-term campaign change. Blaine would probably be the type of DM that says, okay, and he lists about 45 to 60 different obstacles the players must overcome. Not combats, but encounters, events, dialogue trees, and various ways for the players to fuck themselves up even worse than they were before. Nothing makes a DM happier than when people are like,
I don't like this guy's attitude towards me. I'm going to try to diplomatize him.
and they do this stupid thing where they think they can change somebody and then give a lukewarm response, and then they roll their diplomacy with a low-tier, low one-digit response on the die with measly diplomacy ranks included, and they have the worst effort produced. Go ahead, Blaine. You look like you're going to talk.
Oh no, I've had several players who do exactly that, and I'm always like, are you sure? Yeah. Okay, you know you're a monk, right? Yes. You have no diplomacy, right? Yep. And your charisma is trash. Yep. But the underground mob boss has a quote unquote, because I just randomly rolled the gender of the character, a hot hobgoblin. I am like, no, the hobgoblin has just got a 14 for charisma, but it's female. And him, I want that. And me, First off, you're telling me far more about your sexual preferences than I want to know.
Wait. I just want to go back to a hot hobgoblin. What exactly does that?
I don't know. I described literally all I said was female hobgoblin who's wearing well-tailored armor because she was a bodyguard she was a fighter bodyguard for the mob boss. And the monk, I'm going to hit on her, like, with your what? Your 11 charisma, okay. And your diplomacy of what? All right, straight roll here. Straight roll, man. Go for it. Him. I got a chance, right? A number that is not 0. So I've got a chance. God help you. Go, my son, and fail. Burned. But I've seen some people try this. It's in other situations, and it makes me laugh every time it happens.
You know, I'm just trying to. I mean, I know that you're dealing with younger players, and younger players are younger players, and I get that. We were all younger people ourselves.
Yep.
But if you would say, well, the boss, gentleman Zulu over there has a elfin warrior, a female elven warrior next to him, and it's like, I'll take a run of that. That makes sense to me. Okay, a human, sure, why not? Half orc, not my bag, but I'm not going to question. A fucking hobgoblin?
You know what? Like I said, you're telling me more about your sexuality than I wanted to know. But sure, I'm not gonna tell you no, because go ahead. I want to see where this goes. This should have stopped a while ago, but fuck it, we're going.
I mean, I wish I could do Eddie Murphy's voice and start flirting with the dragon, because that makes more fucking sense to me.
You know what? It's the same character, though. He hit on everything that was female. I'm just like, eventually I just stabbed him, and he died, and it was great. But
I have to commend.
At least he was consistent.
Was that?
Commend your player.
Yeah, he realized that his charisma was low, so therefore he went with the shotgun method. I will find someone who will tolerate me if I go after everybody with a pulse. Good for you. Good for you.
Did he at least bring Jello shots or Jägermeister to give him a +2 bonus to his diplomacy?
Not that one, but later on, when he got around to trying to stalk her, I was like, I want to be your boyfriend. Her, no. If I buy you alcohol, and I'm like, you don't have enough money to buy enough alcohol for you.
Shatter, thank you. And Calvinani, how you doing today, sir?
You know, a wise, and I can't say wise enough, philosopher once said, candy is dandy, but I guess litter is quicker.
Yes, it is. The thing was the adventure moved on, and he's like, no, I'm going to have to go find other people to annoy. And I'm like, you're such a doll. I've forgotten what gaming with teenagers is like. You have reminded me of 20-something years ago when we did that shit too when we were young. Wow. It never changes. I didn't tell you any of this stuff. Go, my son. Go.
Have fun. Have fun. Try your best, my friend.
Wake up next to something that you're going to go, I regret every moment of this. Yes.
I mean, there's worse things in this world to do. One of them is have sex with a stand-up comic, because that is probably the low tier reward of your life. you could drink a flat beer at a 2-star bar in Vegas and probably go home with Gonaher Pacific Lap, and you would be better off than if you were to fuck a stand-up comic. I'm just going to lay that out there. There's not even a good funny punchline at the end of the money shot. I'm just gonna let everybody know you're better off fucking your local radio DJ girl. That's it.
The only counter argument I can go with this is I'd rather a comedian than a country singer.
Oh,
Oh God. Okay. So anyway, oh my God, I forgot.
Moving on.
With a heart on, and Blaine reminds me of this because like I used to go to the game store, like I should have rubbed one out before I came. I'm just going to stand here awkwardly with it pressing against the denim, I guess. 2 hours of gaming. Horrible. And I class the place up wherever I go, guys, so don't worry. If you ever see me anywhere, you ever see this table somewhere, I'm classing it up. So, okay. What's the next item there, Jaden?
So the next thing we talked about was herding cats.
Back to the players not having fun. If you can't give them a quota for them to change hearts and minds, then teleport them to another place where they could have fun. And by having fun, I mean where you can adequately challenge them and not have player attrition. I like that. Bruce is a level of class as a leg lamp in Christmas Story. Thank you, Shadzar.
Oh no!
That's awesome. Thank you. So I followed that up, and I'm sorry, Jade. I didn't mean to have you skip the next concept before I said that. You want to throw your players in a place to where you're not having player attrition. You want to have them in a place where they feel engaged. If you have to be heavy-handed and like, guys, put your phones up, interact with each other and me at the table, please. That's why we're here.
No!
Okay, Timmy, you're gone. you either that or you provide them a comfortable couch like I used to have and let them fall asleep on it so you can get the active ones that want to play. And the ones that were just staring at their phone sharing memes on Facebook will peter out and they'll just start snoring. What are you doing? Wow.
Good enough.
All he does, he comes over here, he shares memes. After a half hour, he proceeds to the couch and he dies for 6 hours, maybe 8. I had a 13-year-old kid do that all the time here. It was hilarious. Like he would use all his energy everywhere else. He'd come to my place to crash. I'm part of the party. All right, Tom, just use his laptop. Tell me what you're doing with this character, and that's what we would do. So next time, this Jade was what?
The next topic that we discussed was herding cats.
Herding cats. This is a lot like what I just was talking about, where they're sharing memes and they're not really discussing what's going on in game, but instead they're talking about their days at work. And this is like the first time they've seen anybody. You go shopping at the store, and you got like Karen and Sally in the cereal aisle blocking your path with their 2 giant carts, and you just want the Reese's Pieces cereal. That's it. Honey, get away from the Honey Smacks or make a single file line. Make a hole. I need to get through here and grab my Reese's. I'll be good. By the way, make a hole. If you guys live near a Navy or military base, and I always split those two, Navy or military base. Navy's different than the rest of the military. They can get fat. Nobody's going to care. Nobody cared. Oh, you can't have these extra calories. Go ahead and have that cheesecake. Anyway, you keep making our CUS fire at 60 rounds a second. That's all I ask. Make a hole. With the herding cats, you really have to dynamite your game group. And when I say that, I mean you have to approach that situation as a GM with severe authority and domineering presence. And you have to give them something right now in the flesh of, in the threat of like what a horrible impending doom that a J.J. Abrams movie would foist upon the heroes. Like, oh my God, and J.J. Abrams movies are devoid of script. So there'll be 7 of these in a row for like 5 minutes. If you doubt me, we'll go back to The Force Awakens for the opening scene when the original Chinese people popped in, or excuse me, not Chinese, Indonesian people popped in and JJ obliged us by saying, "Oh, look, Orientals, let's give them tentacles." And he had them besieged by a giant tentacle monster while Han Solo is trying to get the Millennium Falcon out of a stolen craft. So you have to give the players something to where they're all focused on attention. You have to give it to them in a loud voice. Say, "Here's what's in front of you right now." And you focus your attention on that. No matter what they were talking about before, that's not important. We're here to game. You're here to fucking get experience points for your character. You're not going to get as much experience points if you continue talking about why you think that the receptionist from last week that got fired is better than the new girl they hired on Monday. I don't give a fuck about that, and you shouldn't either. And nobody at the table gives a fuck about this. Nobody wants to hear about your sex life. You're here to game. You have 12 goblins here in front of you, and they've got a female cleric and a female fighter they want to capture and take away for impregnation and making more goblins. So, no. Kai, don't you fucking put that on this. You fucking, okay, 24 goblins. There's 24 swinging dick goblins that are going to impregnate your fucking heroes if they don't get messing with that initiative die. So you have to force them into a right fucking now moment of action. You have to give them that. And if not, if you're playing Star Wars, like, guys,
Imperial fleet arrived.
A pair of Victory class Star Destroyers just appeared out of hyperspace less than 3 miles away, and they're targeting you. I need somebody to make their astrogation check right now, because otherwise they're going to get a lock, and two rounds from now we're going to have 80 concussion missiles slamming into your 1 die of shields.
No.
Do you have a force point, Tommy? Tommy, you have a force point? I need you to roll really good. Double your fucking astrogation die roll. Thank you. Oh, you have an astrogation of 4 die plus 2? So with your force point, it's 8 die plus 4. Let's see those dice. I need a 30. And that's when your player goes, oh shit. So give them a thing to focus on. Feed them something right now. It's the equivalent of going to an Overeaters Anonymous meeting with a Devil's Food double layer chocolate cake and just wandering it through the meeting, waiting to see when the sharks will bite.
God, yes. I can't say anything against that. That's true, right there.
Can I add something on to that really quick?
Go ahead.
Sure.
I think, it's really not even an age thing, because I don't matter. It doesn't, well, the youngest you really should start, I don't know how the youngest should be. I had my kids playing when they're like 10 and 11, so that's really a mute point when you jump in. But as grown-ups, maybe as a DM have house rules. Listen, if you have kids, I understand, but your phone needs to be on silent or on vibration in your pocket. And if you need to check your phone or so on, that's fine. But if you don't have any other responsibilities outside where you are right now, there's a table right over there. You can leave your phone right there. And when we take our next bio break,
every 2 hours, have a bio break, 5 minutes.
Check your phone, order some food, whatever. And then the pre-instance, and I've said this before, and I really do stand by it. All this stuff, everything that we're talking about is a social agreement that we are going to gather up once, maybe twice a week, sit down and have play a game. If you only get together once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, allow your party to have at least 30 minutes of catching up, because we're all friends.
Yeah.
We want to share our lives with each other. And if we only get to see each other once, X, whatever it may be, hey, did you hear that my car broke down? No. Did you hear that my sister got married to the idiot? No, whatever. So allowing your players to have a little bit of time before a game gets started is not a bad deal. Separating them from their phones for 2 hours, it's not in the world. 2 hours a game might not. that is a problem with modern phones. Might not be a bad thing. You know, I've gone to restaurants with friends, and we'll play not Domino's, Jingo with the phones. First person to grab their phone has to buy everybody's dinner. And there's a few cheapskates out there. They'll let their fucking ring run the entire time without picking it up.
God bless those people. They have discipline. Shadzar says at 9:13, this is the caller. The caller's job is to organize the players. Back in the old days, the caller wasn't even a player that had a hero in the game. They were just a person at the table that said, guys, what are you doing? And he would get all the information for the combat round or for their exploration mode or whatever they were doing. And then he would relay everything as the players would stand by and watch as a caller either said it properly or fucked up their enunciation and relayed information to the DM. The caller is a respectable spot, and I think that we should be double dipping, not like the old days, but somebody who has a game character should probably be the face of the group. If it's your bard or if you're paladin, somebody with a really good charisma, whoever that face is in the party needs to actually be doing that. You have to role play your charisma, Tommy. Do you not understand what you have when you have a 17 charisma? You are just one half rung shy of Rick Springfield in 1984.
Ooh.
Okay.
Some people aren't ready for that job. That's one thing you gotta worry about. Is that
okay? So as a DM, it's okay to mentor gamers.
Oh yeah.
We're and I hate to say this word because it's got a negative parlance right now, but we are grooming table inhabitants at our games to be better people because we're trying to get them to work together, to think of their collective mindset, of their own role, and their spot in the big picture. We're trying to make them more aware of their surroundings. So we're going to hopefully have them leave our table as a better human than when they first sat down, either at level 1 for the campaign or for that evening.
Yep.
I want players to be challenged and to actually have something they can pick up and carry with them throughout their day after that.
Oh, but it is fun watching a player get a little out of their usual depth and having them go, and I'm like, well, you did want to be party boss, and then throw leadership on top of them and watch them kind of go, oh shit. I'm like, what? You just thought being officer meant that everyone just does what you say? Well, I kind of am having to like teach that poor kid and going, no, you're in charge. You make the decisions. We implement your choices. It's how it works, man. And he's like, crud, I didn't think about this. I'm like, you know, you can always abdicate and let somebody else take up leadership. He goes, no, I want to try. All right. Go ahead and try.
You know, there is a reason where you can low-key put your D&D experience on your resume as a group building experience, as learning how to accomplish goals as a group. Because these are important life tools that we're, as DMs, are teaching their players. It doesn't matter if there are, 15 young players or adults. Sometimes these life lessons need to be retaught.
Yep.
There was a D&D resume builder video that's out there. Let me search for that real quick. While I'm doing that, Jade, what was your next statement you had?
The next main topic that we got to after herding cats was splitting the party, the benefits and the drawbacks from doing so. Whether
I've learned to split the party differently.
Okay. Explain.
I've learned that if you split the party, do it at the end of a session. That way you can use Discord or Skype or just a one-on-one gaming session between game sessions to achieve what narrative goals, what storytelling goals you have for your game can be achieved while everybody is able to not be inconvenienced by your splitting the party. You don't want to split the party at the start of the game when everybody's there and you've got everyone's attention. Just because Jenny is an awesome role player with huge tits and a low cut shirt, she probably doesn't want all of you oogling her for 3 hours while she talks about what her bard is doing. She probably wants to get this done away from the party. Ben and Nancy are thieves or rogues, and they probably don't want to split the party when the party could be doing party related things. But as rogues, they often, we can have our cake and eat it too. And that's exactly what they do. So you give them a few hours in a private D&D session or private table session to where they can flaunt their abilities and they can impact their own pocketbooks as they want to and be put on the radar by some aspiring law enforcement guard in town. And that way, when the players enter the front gates next time, they're given a full body cavity audit. And the player's like, what the fuck happened? And only a week passed from the time where he said, I split the party. Game's over. Here's your experience points, and you go home.
Wow.
That's all you're doing. You're about 100% on your predictions, man. Thank you, sir. So you have these moments where, as a dungeon master or storyteller or a gatekeeper or a referee, whatever you may call yourself, as the host of the table, the person that is directing the narrative, you don't want to split the party at the start of the game. If you are playing Shadowrun and you have a decker at your table, you want to have moments with the decker where they're hacking and doing stuff to where it does not impact other people. Guys, everybody but Billy, take 5-minute bio break. Billy, stay here. We got to hack. And let him do his thing. And either the players will return from their bio break and have a dead decker at the guard shack with either a bullet in his head or black ice operating in his synapses, or they'll have an open door and he's like, did anybody need a key? But don't make the player stand by for 15 minutes while one person's in the spotlight masturbating and having a bukkake section all by themselves. Don't do that. Don't do that. Make the players shine when they want to shine in front of each other during things like combat. But when it's time for them to have their own special narratives, go ahead and split the party at the end of the session.
That makes sense. I like that.
Is that agreeable, or is that like
No. I mean, I agree. I completely agree with what you're saying. I don't know if you heard what I said earlier. Like with Rise of Runelord, there's some modules out there that will just that will just outright split your party just by save rolls, reflex rolls, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to blow up Jade's ego, but when he was running one of his earlier campaigns, when we were all living together, not this crew, where you and another player, James, would send you text messages about a book long about what his character is doing throughout our downtime, and Jade did not. Jade was never irritated about it. He'd take it, sit down, read it, and get back to him because, as I said, this about Kai and about Bruce and Jade. They're good DMs. You will make time for players if the players are willing to make time for you.
Mm-hmm. And you've got typically people play on a weekly basis. Most gamers are on a weekly campaign diet. Most. Not all, but you can usually find space within a 6-day rotation to do an extra thing, or if you have to, you can pull a player aside as everybody's packing up. Listen, we're going to go out in the general gaming area for the store. Take your dice and character sheet with you. I'll run it out there. That way we can get this taken care of. Or if you don't have time later during the week, do that at your house when everybody else is getting out of there. Let them go to the bathroom, have a bio break. When they come back, everybody else is gone, or they got their coats and they're out the door smoking cigarettes or checking Facebook, whatever it may be. But you let them have that moment to shine, and then plant those seeds of what happened. Don't tell everybody what happened, because most players won't share their individual, like, oh my God, we had a session with the GM. It was just me and 3 other people in my 8-person group. They're typically not going to blab about that. They're typically going to be like, well, I actually need to be in character when that comes about. And that way, as a GM, you can infer and you can seed the following adventure with the results of various things that happened when people were split up from the party. You don't have to tell everything. And if the player wants to tell everybody in the world, come on ahead, let them. Because they're probably really enjoying what you're doing for them. But
I will.
go ahead.
I will admit that a lot of my trickery came up from the fact that I was both part of and ran an Elysium level game for Vampire, where everything was about being sneaky and having 100 plot lines going off at once. So that kind of, and then being part of and then running a Winter Court for Legend of the Five Rings, another, everyone's manipulative, everyone's sneaky, and the only way you can actually have a combat is if you actually challenge someone to a duel, and then suddenly there's formal rules that all have to happen. And when you get to watch professionals who are like, when you're young and easily influenced, and watching someone masterfully do it, you kind of want to follow that. And then knowing I had an entire session where all it was me in a lawn chair and having players bring me new lemonades as they each took turns playing their secret plot lines, and all I'm sitting here just basking in the nice warm sunlight with sunglasses on. I didn't even open my eyes. I was just like running the game from a lawn chair. And every 10 minutes, next player, send them in. Next player, send them in. And then finally it's like, it's been an hour. Everyone's had 3 sessions. Let me go walk in, tell everyone what's been going on, then go back out to my lawn chair and go resume pampering me while I run. It was a beautiful day, and I loved every moment of it. And while all the players are all sitting here talking to themselves, playing this little intrigue game where they're all kind of working against each other, and then they all go, "Is it my turn? Huh, okay, GM, what's going on?" And here's me. Well, here's what's going on. This is what I want to do, Ed. All right, here's plot A, plot B, plot C, plot D. All right, I now know what you're up to. You may now return back to the waiting area. Send the next player out. And if nobody comes out, oh, finally, I get to go back in and tell you all what's going on. And then suddenly I get grabbed and pulled back to my lawn chair. It was the most greatest day ever. So
that's 2 of the 3. The last one was we did Herding Cats.
Yep.
We did Changing World if the players are not happy. The third topic was
Splitting the party. We just covered that.
Splitting the party.
And this year we talked a little bit about setting difficulty and scaling difficulties, when to do it, how to do it. So if you wanted to discuss that, Bruce, how do you set your difficulties, and do you scale them as things arise, or do you just leave it set at one difficulty?
My difficulties are varied and dynamic. I do not use the same difficulties for everybody and everything, because there's going to be certain things, like I'm not to the level that Gary was, where I have people jumping in and out of game that are different levels, like 9th level, 3rd level, 1st level. Don't have that going on, but I do have things going on where, like, there might be an 8th level player and a 6th level party. And 8th level for 3.x is a big jump from a 6th level character. It really is. And you can do a lot more with an 8th level character than a 6th level character. But when I'm running a game, I try to make it's not going to be as hard for everybody across the board, but for their particular player, it will feel more dramatic if you are at the lower end of that level spectrum and you're trying to do things to make you as equal to or as important looking as one of the more seasoned members of the party. I mean, you're punching above your weight, and I make sure you feel it. People that are at the top end of the spectrum, they're usually rolling like a 12 or better on the D20 to meet their goals. Whereas the people at the lower end of the spectrum, you're rolling at 18, 19, or 20 to succeed. Good luck. And I take in effect like all the bonuses and such. I'm just throwing that out there just so the people that watch this know how I'm trying to juggle the numbers in my head, because I usually have all the players in front of me on a screen with whatever program I'm using. If they're forcing me to use Hero Labs, fine. If they're letting me use that wonderful product known as PC Gen, that's great. I love that. PC Gen is better than Hero Labs, but that's just me.
Okay. We also discussed a little bit about experience points versus milestones and when
Yeah, I
and how
remember that. I
often
started
players
streaking.
level up.
Yeah, somebody said milestone, and I'm like, why?
Only
Why?
reason why I brought that up was because the three of us at the moment were able to basically skim through all three of the questions, and we still had like 2 hours and not 2 hours, maybe
And a
an
half.
hour and 45 minutes left on the table. I know you're not a big fan of it, Bruce.
I'm not a big fan of milestone gaming at all. I really think that is a poor substitute for giving the players their long, hard fought narrative. If you want the players to be high level in a fast experience point game, it is not hard. You just run a fast experience point XP chart through Pathfinder First Ed, and you will have it happen because most of the modules around the third or fourth module in a series of adventure paths usually will ramp the players up and shove them into double digit levels as quickly as possible. They do. So it's not hard for you to do it. And a lot of modules before Pathfinder are written at the fast XP chart. When Pathfinder came out, they redid everything for the standard experience point chart to be what you followed. And that is typically 20 encounters per level at your level. Mind you, nobody I know wants to have standard encounters for a character of your level. Would a thief of my level know not to attack the barbarian threatening my friend? So I really feel that milestone gaming is a shortcut, or it is a shift from the manual transmission of experience point leveling, which requires you can adjust your game. You can always make your game easier or harder depending on how you as a DM are going to educate what's going on at your table. I could have easily ran back in October a session where the players went through a portal and there was a blue dragon and a bunch of monsters there. But don't worry, guys, that blue dragon's your level, so you guys should be able to take him. No. You can instead give the players a notification like, there's probably no reason for you to be here anymore. You've seen what's on this side of the portal. It's time for you to go. And when players don't decide to go, you give the other players that are smart and kept their swords in their sheaths a reason to go. And I killed half the party. Apparently, that was something that the Legion of Myth people really like. They thought that was something they'd not seen that in a while. You gave them the dictums that the dragon wanted. Give me all your magical items, you can leave, have fun. But I want everything that's magical on your fucking body. Otherwise, you're going to die. The paladin doesn't give the party a chance to say, okay, we'll take off our magic boots. The paladin's like, I'd rather die in combat than give up or submit to a dragon. And that was when I left 3 player character corpses in the middle of a room, and everybody else decided that their skivvies were quite comfortable in 30-degree weather. We're gonna get down to a very frigid temperature, and then jump back in that portal, and it's kind of a cold spring. We're gonna have our balls shriveled the size of little lima beans. Okay, and that was exactly what happened. But you want to run a game to where it's varied, and the players should not steamroll everything. They should have a narrative reason to push on, and sometimes that means we can't take this foe on right now. We have to go regroup, level up, and have the entire Hidden Fortress narrative events happen to us so we can learn how to be better heroes. Otherwise, we're doing nothing but playing through The Force Awakens. That see how that doesn't sound like fun? And the thing is that you want to have a game that provides your characters with a long struggle, with a long reason of I have suffered for so long. I have been toiling. I have been grinding. I have aged years with this character. And at the point where comeuppance is about, that is where you start letting the players see behind the curtain of this is what a hero feels like. You, a 13th level fighter, are besieged by 20 7th level fighters. And now you get to fight all of them. And it might only take you 2 or 3 sword swipes per character for you to get up the stairs when they charge you from above. But you should feel like a hero. A hero is not a hero all the time. A hero sometimes gets their ass kicked. A hero sometimes has to endure harsh, bloody lessons. A hero doesn't have a story that everybody could have for themselves because not everybody's cut out for it. Not everybody's going to make it. Heroes are special. Your wheelchair needs to keep your ass behind the hotel desk, and you need to take players' silvers so they can have a key to one of their nicer rooms. I'm sorry, Cal. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know where that
I
came
saw that. I had to throw it in there. My bad.
So
But-
the thing is that when you have a situation, you want to have a long slog, because if you just do milestone gaming, if the players can see the roadmap, they're not going to go for the side quests. They're not going to go for the here's another cache of magic weapons we could sell for 1,000 gold each. No, they're going to charge straight up the map, and it's going to be the most boring point A to point B adventure possible. Give your players a reason to explore this mega dungeon. Make 3 out of 6 rooms in this big dungeon. 3 out of 6. That's 1/2 of all the rooms are devoid of any significant changes to game or features. It's just shaped like this. It has a stalactite in the middle. It has water driplets coming out of the stalactite into the pool below. This is how stalagmites are made. And give them a reason that at a certain point that they could leave the super dungeon. Like, hey, I think if I follow this rat tunnel and squeeze my shoulders as hard as I can towards my chest, I think I can get out and I see sunlight. After 500 feet of crawling through rat shit and bat guano, I think I see sunlight ahead. And they get out of the dungeon and they've crawled 500 feet downhill through rat shit and bat guano. And you wizards there, you better be cleaning up everybody's armor, everybody's elbow pads and knee pads, and giving them, a couple silvers at the bar, because now you have 3 pounds of bat guano, one of the very big spell components for Fireball. So you have that. Don't use milestone leveling. Milestone leveling, especially with an established map of how you get to be higher level, that will bore you as a DM. That will provide your players with no incentive to truly grow. It will just use this as a Brady Games cheat book for a particularly difficult level of 007 on N64.
I missed
Yeah,
that.
upper respiratory problems. You've breathed in 500 feet of bat guano and bat and rat shit. Have fun, kids.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
it is basically been 2 hours. We're a couple of seconds shy of that. We can keep going because if we have it in us, or we can say, "Hey, thanks for coming out, and we'll see you next week." What does the panel wish to do?
You got a question? Or
Yeah,
you got
I can always fire more questions if you want.
if I just wanted to catch up real quick, was there anything else
Yeah.
I needed to catch up on, Jade?
no? We're caught up.
I think the only other thing was you've had a really long week of life kicking you in the teeth, and you haven't prepared anything for your session this coming week. What do you do? What can you do to prepare something for your players so they don't come over and go, oh well, why did we come over? That was the topic where we kind of left off
I'm
on.
going to ask a question that I'm pretty certain half of you in my panel can't answer.
Okay.
Do you guys have geomorphs available?
No.
I'm familiar with the term, but I can't place it.
All right. In the back of the Dungeon Master's Guide, first edition, if you were unable to create your own dungeon, you would roll a die and you get funny shaped dungeon rooms. I've got dice that are dungeon geomorphs. You've got a prop that gives you dungeon geomorphs. Yes, I've got those very dice right there. I've got those.
Yeah, it comes in a set of 5 or 6. Yeah, I do have this. I couldn't remember. Like I said, I remembered hearing the term, but I just call these dungeon dice.
Those are probably known as dungeon geomorphs. Now, I would recommend all of us and all of you in the chat do have available a first edition D&D DMG, because a first edition D&D DMG has a bunch of really good yes, those are awesome. The Dungeon Master's Guide has a whole dungeon prep like 5 or 6 pages to help you. If you are devoid of inspiration in the noggin, you are still able to completely build a dungeon from scratch. And even if you are one of those guys like, I only make dungeons with 5 rooms, I only do 5-room dungeons. Or if you're one of those guys that says, I'm going to spend a half hour on this, I will do it. Or be like Blaine. Blaine goes out there on a paint program and he sketches out a map. He Bob Ross's something together within like 2.5 to 3 minutes.
I did not use paint. I actually used pencils and color pencils.
For traditional pen and paper gaming. So,
Yes, that's actually. I have it over here.
I mean, I can make a dungeon with playing cards.
I mean, this was hand drawn in about approximately an hour. So that was an hour. That was an hour. This one took a bit more actual work because I had to name things, and this one had more coloring on it, so that one took longer. But I actually hand draw all this stuff still.
So
I kind of cheat. Fourth edition D&D was a shit system, but it came out with really good board games. I have a few of them, and I'll use the tiles for those to have the players make their own dungeon. I can't draw to save my life. Two of the other 3 guys here can verify my drawing skills. My dungeons looks like uteruses for some strange reason. I don't know. I don't know.
Gee, I wonder what's on your mind.
Well, I eat red meat and I'm American, so it happens. Yeah. So I use tiles. I'll use pre-made tiles to have them little cardboard tiles that were pathways, and let them just build their own freaking dungeon. And I'll have, for every 4 dungeons, I'll roll D10 dice to see what they run into, because I'll have a list of monsters that are appropriate to that dungeon, that whatever they're in. I have maps. I will throw out vinyl maps that have been, Whiz Kids or whoever have made, and where this is a road down, this is a road, this is a city, this is so forth and so on. But there's nothing like having your players make their own way. And I think that's really cool.
I would just say that as a DM, a lot of books from the starting portion of the hobby, the Rule Encyclopedia, the first edition DMG, you have all these tools to help you create a dungeon of your very own to run for your players within just 20 minutes. You'll slap it together. And one thing that I'll just tell you that Gary did all the time when he would create a dungeon, if the players had like 10 rooms that had stuff in it. So like you drop a dungeon and you have like 40 or 50 rooms. After about 10 rooms, there would be a way for the players to either rest and repair, or there'd be like an exit that the players could find a way to get out of the dungeon and escape, and maybe come back to that spot later and intrude back through that direction and continue on without having to walk through the tedious parts of the dungeon first. We've already killed everything here. What? Why are we here again? You don't want to do that. Don't do that to your players. So you want to have your dungeon, you have one main entrance, but you'll have a bunch of other entrances as time goes on that the players will discover. And give them those opportunities to use that, because you're going to have situations pop up. I remember the time that Connell and I were at a table, and it was for the Savage Tide campaign, where they were in a jungle, and there was 2 basilisks, and the basilisks fought the party, and half the party petrified up. They were like, Connell's wife at the time was just like, as soon as she got petrified, she's like, I'm done. Fuck this game. Fuck it. And like, I had the most angry player at my game table for probably 2009 in those 3 hours, because it took the rest of the party 3 hours to kill 2 basilisks. Nobody else failed a save for petrification. But I've got to say that was something that if you have a situation where you lock down players, do yourself a favor beforehand and have a spot where the players can go and bullshit with each other away from the table, because you want the game to continue for those who are still engaged in it. Those guys might come back later, or we might have a TPK.
Yeah, I remember that. I got turned into stone. She got turned into stone. Like 2 other people got turned into stone. Kronda made her comment, and I'm like, you know what? Hey, Bruce, we'll run to the grocery store really quick. We'll be back in 10 to 15. You looked at me with a great big smile because I got that bitch out of the game shop at the time.
And I didn't have any problem with her as a person, but as a player at that moment, like, I'm still trying to run this combat. I'm sorry you're out of it.
Right.
It wasn't meant to be a cataclysmic event. Fuck.
Shit happens. Yeah. That's how I look at most campaigns. Shit happens. Roll with the dice, quite literally.
You rolled a 7. What do you expect is going to happen?
Right. And me and her walked over to the grocery store, got what we were ever going to get, came back. She was in a better mood, and the game continued.
If you have a character at your table that has the response of being happier with chocolate, I would, when you have bad rolls like that show up at the table, I wouldn't say feed them chocolate because it looks like you're giving them chocolate as a reward for rolling like shit. Don't do that. But have the chocolate be made available to them so they can keep their mouth engaged in a healthy way instead of being a disrespectful person at the table. You want your game to continue.
We all have those moments where we have bad rolls. Hell, Jade has joked around multiple times where I can't roll past a fucking 5. I've yet to see Bruce at a table where he's been a DM, not a DM, so I don't know what his bad days look like as a player. I'm sure he's had them.
This is why I am what I hate. I am a min-maxing asshole because my dice cannot roll above a fucking 5 ever. I
True.
roll more nat 1s on d20s than I have ever rolled nat 20s in 10 years.
This is why I've been trying to get him to come join me over on Tuesdays, where it's good to roll nothing higher than a fucking 5 with Star Wars, Star Trek Fleet, and what was the other one? Star Trek Fleet
Dark
and
Heresy. Dark Heresy is my game.
Babylon
Dark
5.
Heresy, yes, and Babylon 5
Heresy's my
Wars.
game. Dark Heresy, because I can always reliably roll in the teens.
All right. Well, you know
So
what? It is.
Wait, have we all been talking about wait, so Dark Heresy, we like science fiction. Why are we still talking about fantasy roleplay when obviously our actual dream is either Warhammer 40K and Star Wars and Starfleet and all these others like we're miserable or having fun, but man, all of our calling is in this direction.
Right.
Don't even go there. I wrote 2 books. I wrote 2 fucking books and published them myself for fucking urban fantasy. Okay, I get it. I get it.
With this being said, it is 2:10, and we're. I'm sure we think we have things that we need to do tomorrow, and it is.
Week.
We can always pick up this conversation next week. Well, maybe next week's conversation will be Star Trek, Star Wars, Babylon 5, sci-fi gaming. Because Kai is right. We kind of touch on these games, but we've never really did a video on these games. And it's a topic that could definitely be brought up. Now, I am going to start with Bruce. Anything coming up or any words of wisdom to young players, old players, or anybody who's still sticking around to watch this rattle off to each other?
I would recommend anybody that is a person that enjoys tabletop gaming. First off, if you really enjoy the people at your table, don't just see them at that game day. Get in touch with them on Discord or text message. Get a group together on Boxer. Have a group chat, okay? If you really get along well with them, don't just see them on game day. Yes, you only have 24 hours in a day to do things and be productive and make money and put food on the table. I get it. But make an extra. You're taking a shit usually for 10 minutes a day. Instead of pressing like on Facebook to somebody who doesn't give a fuck about you, use that time constructively. Reach out to your buds. Reach out to your besties. Reach out to people that mean a shit to you. Reach out to people that will actually send you good memes, okay? That's the important thing. Don't waste your time on Instagram saying, "Oh, girl with a juicy thick ass, please pay attention to my scrub lord ass." No, she's not going to give a shit about you. She's happy with her 9,800 likes that she's got for her newest squats for sub video. Okay, you don't matter to her. Touch your buddies and do a Bing image search later. Okay, nobody has to know. But everybody knows we all do it, okay? Words of wisdom.
All right. Kai, any words of wisdom, heresy, or otherwise?
No, I got nothing. I'm sorry.
No last momentary rant of how Jim Butcher should pump out his books every other week. No, nothing.
Man, no. I mean, beyond my no.
Don't want to tell us what R.A. Salvatore's pissed you off this week, or how Picard has let you down.
That would require me to have read R.A. Salvatore, any of his books, since I was a teenager. After I grew up and read real books.
Oh,
What was the last R.A. Salvatore book you read?
Some bullshit that involved Dritz fighting a bunch of orcs.
the Thousand Orcs, the Army of the Thousand Orcs, or something like that. I read all
Right. Look, it was so long ago and I didn't finish it, and I returned the book to him. So honestly, I don't remember because it's honestly vapid trash. So
I think the last R.A. Salvatore book I read was the Demon War Saga.
That was better.
Yeah, that would be the last one I read.
I can honestly say the last R.A. Salvatore book I read was the last one because me and my daughter read them.
But when you're a kid, R.A. Salvatore is good. You have C.S. Lewis, you have R.A. Salvatore, and then you give it Tolkien, and you end on a high note. You do that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying put Salvatore in the same group as Tolkien.
No. But I get it's just building a base
Or,
of fantasy
Look,
that you could draw from.
And
It's
Robert
kid.
Jordan.
Hey, Robert Jordan actually holds itself together for a while, and it's still a good.
Yep.
It's still good. It isn't just simply Dritz and his God damn it, just fuck her.
The first
Adventures.
three good. I really like the first 3 Drizzt books.
Yes,
All the Drizzt books, I hate them.
Like I said, these are things I do. I read with my daughter because I could not sit through another rendition of Harry Potter after I read the first X amount of books for the X amount of time. Hey, baby, here's another book I want you to start reading. That's not. You don't have to hear about Sam going on about the fucking elephants. Anyways,
I think you should probably keep your daughter away from Wheel of Time until she's probably about 16, 17.
that's fair. That's fair.
Wheel of Time is really good, but it
yeah.
got into some interpersonal stuff like the mysticism or the wisdom of women versus just the lateral thought approaches that men have, and that's pretty cool. But that'll fly right over her head. All she's going to catch is that all these girls have huge tits. That's all she's going to catch.
Right.
That's it.
I recommend if you have children, find books that you're willing to read with them, and read with them.
Yeah.
If you have kids. With that being said, any words of wisdom, Jade, of the 2 towering bookcases behind you?
Filled
Huh? What?
with games.
Filled with games? Yes. I do fill my bookcases with games and books. Be well read.
Encyclopedia of American police cars.
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna kind of mirror what some of the others say. I know that seems a bit, lame, but be well read. Read an author you've never read before. I've read Sanderson, Butcher, Jordan. Hell, I've even read.
Brandon Weeks.
Brandon Weeks.
Mark Twain.
I've gone through David Weber. There's so many great authors out there, and even some of the classics like H.G. Wells. I've taken a lot of ideas from some of the Wellesian novels.
Armored Trains. That is a book. Huge book
That is a book.
on trains.
My extremely Aspergian son has 3 copies of that book.
He has this book.
Yes.
He has 3 copies of a book that from the Naval Institute Press that just got republished, and it costs about $100.
Maybe I might be wrong, but it looks a lot like that cover.
Naval Institute Press reprint of a French author, and it just got republished about a year ago.
I might be wrong, but that does look like a book.
I'm impressed. Your son has a lot of money, and it's because that was brand new. It got republished.
I wasn't even aware he had a son. I just knew he had a daughter.
We'll get into that later, Bruce.
Stepson.
Yeah.
Ooh. Also, make them read actual Clausewitz. Enjoy some Clausewitz in your life.
Maybe some Heinlein or.
That's upstairs. I don't have it down here.
Yeah, I don't have. Huh?
Do you live in a townhouse now, Blaine?
2-story house. Ooh, I forgot. Some nice Machiavelli. You can actually read that too. Get some Tolstoy in your life, so that way you can feel existential dread and depression while you read a book that's too big.
We finally got Kai excited about something.
The point is, expand your horizons, read authors that excite you, but also branch out and read authors that you've never heard of that might have subject material in the areas that you're interested in. If you're interested in high fantasy, branch out. If you're interested in the sci-fi, but you've only read the same 3 authors, find one that's new. Start expanding your horizons.
If you like Heinlein and Starter Troopers, this is probably one of the most amazing books you'll ever read. Right here, The Forever War.
Forever War. Yep.
It's an amazing book.
We're missing a great set of books that I don't think anybody has covered. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series.
My ex stole my copy, so
I know I'm getting you for Christmas. Anyways, I will, as Ty is going through his bookshelf, I will throw in my 2 bits, and we will say goodnight then. I want everybody out there to have a good rest of the week. Roll your dice in the dark, and make sure you do your character sheets in crayon. You all have a good night.
good night.
Bye, everybody.